Hello! Welcome to Bad at Board Games.
Well, he's bad at board games.
I'm Brad Lake.
And I'm Toph Ferguson.
And we're bad at board games, so you don't have to be
Like Brad.
Toph.
I got it first.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you don't want to be like Brad. Oh, you are touching me.
It's been a while.
You legitimately touched my face like 5 times. I need to go home and shower. Oh.
What are we talking about today, Toph?
Today we are talking about Sweetlands.
It's on Kickstarter right now. This is actually a review. We've actually played it. There may be a few tweaks, but it's pretty well baked. Ha! Look at that. I'm punned. But should be all good to go. Why should you back it? And we'll try to give you our breakdown of pros and cons, our BGG rating. We've played it enough. And all those fun things to help you make your decisions.
Yes. So tell us a little bit about Sweetlands.
Sweetlands. It is by the publisher Uchibacoya, and the designer is Totsuca Chuo.
Almost.
Almost? That's it.
To be honest, none of us really are able to pronounce it well. I don't know. I was thinking Totsuca.
Chuo.
You know, correct us, please, as you may like to do down in the comments, please.
There you go.
Yeah, because we're usually bad with that.
Anyway.
Yeah, so this game is...
Been given to us.
Yeah, well, that's true.
We did.
Yeah.
They sent it to us because we liked Ostia a lot, and they asked if we would be interested in this one. So just to keep that in mind. We did not get to keep it, sadly.
Yeah,
we had to send it on.
Gives you a little bit of preview.
So yeah, we want to keep it, so that tells you a little bit about it. But anyway, wanted to put that out there for you.
So thank you, Uchibacoya, for sending us the game. Like I said, we didn't want to send it on, but we have sent it on. It's no longer in the Bad at Board Games collection or house or creepy basement.
It's not a creepy basement.
No, not at all. It's got Brad in it, so yes, actually it is. But anyways,
and Cthulhu, and Star Wars stuff.
Yeah, see, I used to not like Star Wars stuff, and now he has me stuck on it. But we're not here to talk about that. So let's talk about Sweetlands. Sweetlands, in short, is a game where we are vying to become the next royal leader of the Sweetlands. I don't exactly see where that comes into the theme so much, but that's just me not understanding the theme that much. However, I am a baker, so I do understand baking.
Yes.
And this is a game all about sweets and treats. And even though I don't care to eat them so much, it was so fun to be able to see all the different pastries and sweet things come up. So we are building out a city, trying to vie to become the largest and best city of the Sweetlands and kind of, I don't know, bring sugar to people?
Something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Thinking of it as like Candyland. But
On
not.
speed.
Nothing like the game Candyland.
Oh, okay.
Just think of like the Adventureland, you know.
I was like,
stuff.
is this like Lacerda mixed Candyland?
I actually forgot that there was a board game named Candyland. Nothing. Don't even.
Well, we're old. That's why we don't remember Candyland.
Stop there. And just forget I even said that.
Yeah, that's probably not bad. But
mechanics.
yes. So this is nothing like the game Candyland. This is a Euro through and through. In fact, it is a crunchy, heavyweight Euro through and through.
The theme makes you think, cute. This will be a midweight game. No.
Yeah. When we look at in fact, when they sent it to us, we're looking at the box, and even the box lid, the artwork on it, it's like, well, that's not my style of artwork that I typically watch, which is kind of that cute anime-ish Japanese pop art, cartoonish. Yeah. I also don't know anything about Japanese pop art, apparently. But it's like opening up the box, it's like, well, there's a lot to this. And then flipping through the rule book, it's like, oh, there's a lot to this. And then actually sitting down to play, it was like, okay, there's a lot to this game. So it is Euro, and you know, on top of me absolutely loving Euros, my probably favorite mechanic of all time in board games is
Worker placement.
Yes, this is a worker placement. And outside of that, I also like
stuff.
Okay, yeah, lots of stuff like resource management. We'll go with that one. So this is...
I'm a very shallow friend.
Thank you, friend. Yes, you'd like to touch me and know nothing about me. Don't. So back to mechanics real quick. So there's a lot of mechanics, so I'll kind of sum them up as best I can in kind of categories. So worker placement is going to be the big one with that, but also income and resource management. So you're going to be having to unlock ways to be able to get income in various categories throughout it. So you've got resource management that's coming in through income. and how you're taking actions. You've got cards that you're able to use as resources, but you also can use your cards in other ways. So cards as actions is another one of the mechanic styles. This is an engine building game, so you do have tags that you're building out. So again, cards are being used in kind of a Tableau-ish way. There are tech trees or progress tracks. In fact, there are 8 pseudo 9 progress tracks in this game.
Yeah.
It's a city and route building game mechanic. You've got bonuses that you're getting as you build out your city and your routes. It has asynchronous player powers, which is something we'll probably both be commenting on when we get down to pros. It's got end game bonuses. In true Euro fashion, it is a largely solitaire game. So there's a lot going on mechanic wise with this game, but
the worker placement keeps you, you're not, you can block, right? But you'll still be able to, somebody else will still be able to go there. They just have to pay more for the next. There's like multiple spots. Some places only have one exact spot, but then you always have that spot down below that says, hey, pay for, and then you can take an action of somewhere else, right?
Typically. So that's on the 3 to 4 players. But yes, there is ability to copy. So it's not so punishing worker placement. In fact,
and I think
it's not punishing anywhere.
And I think that's one theme we've seen with their games between Ostia and Ostia Pirates and this. There is not take that. There is not, there's no negatives. You're failing forward almost and everything. So if you're looking for those kind of games, this still falls in line with that mentality that they have.
That's me. I do not like take that. I don't like player elimination. I like my solitaire games, I guess. Yeah, my friends touch my face and I don't like it, and so I just want to go sit in the corner and play board games by myself. So this fits it. So lots of mechanics. That was very quick summary, but we'll cover more as we go through the review, I'm sure.
Yep. So player count, best player count. This plays 1 to 4. You definitely wouldn't want this at 5. I think it depends on how much time you have. So I would say the best player count is going to be 2 or 3. 2 is not going to play that much faster than 3. It's not a per person how long it takes to play. It's just this game takes this long to play, and if you have 3, it's going to take a little bit longer. And if you have 2, it's going to take a little bit less. So just be aware. This does have a solo. You tried to learn the solo, but you kind of played two-handed, right?
I did.
Even though they had solo rules.
Yes. So the copy that we got was a prototype copy, and as such, some of the things may be a little different. So if you're watching this review and you have the actual copy, note that there may be some changes from what we're talking about. But one of the components that was not in the prototype was the solo mechanic. So I went online and I found a lot of information about the solo mechanic. I did not print the cards and make my own cards to play that way. I chose to play double-handed and just kind of played against myself, but tried to maximize both plays as I could throughout the game. But the solo mechanic is simply just an AI that's kind of blocking some of those worker placement spaces, or blocking some of the actions you could be taking to kind of act like another player's is sitting there playing against you.
Yeah. So. And then the time, this is where the box art doesn't do this justice. Because when I looked at the box and then I looked at how long it took, I'm like, holy crap, 3 hours. So it doesn't lie about what it is. I know some people have said it takes longer. I think it might take longer if you include the teach and the setup. But you're looking at 2.5 to 3 hours. 3 hours with 3 people is doable, and I think you could push that down a little bit, but you're not going to go from 3 to 2 hours. And then at 2 people, you're still looking at like 2.5 probably. Like I said, the game doesn't get necessarily faster with fewer people. It's not like 1 hour per person kind of a thing. It's like you're going to spend 2.5 for 2, and then you're going to spend around 3 for 3, and you may spend 3.5 for 4, if you want to think of it like that. And it's basically like waiting on people to make decisions and how quickly people will make decisions, and really think about what they're going to do for when it comes to their turn, then they're ready to go. So
one thing that is really good about the time, and this is going to take a lot more plays to get to this point, and unfortunately we don't have the game anymore at the moment to be able to try it out, but it is nice in that most of the time when you say this is the action I'm going to take, the next person can go ahead and start their turn while you do what you need to do.
Yeah, there can be some overlap there.
Yeah. So, and that's why when Brad says it doesn't double it to add an extra player or something, that's why.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Turn overview. So this is where I kind of want to say, like, I don't think they've done a good job of explaining to you the game on the Kickstarter page. I think it's, like they have this, and I'll try to put it here on the screen. It's kind of an overview, and they're saying, they've got these 6 steps, but it's not necessarily that. So Toph's going to give you an overview of how we see the game, and hopefully that'll kind of help you like understand it a bit more here.
Yeah, and this is not a teach.
Yeah.
Please know this is not a teach. But I'll try to summarize it, and the rule book is going to go over the basic steps. So there are 5 rounds to the game, so it's not a very long game. You have a time crunch.
It's not a very long 3-hour game.
No, not at all. So 5 steps
turns.
only. Yeah, And so in each of those phases or each of those steps, you're going to have 4 phases that you're going to do. And the first is simply just a kind of, well, I guess 2 of them are just a cleanup phase. Yeah, so you have a start phase. Yeah. So in the start phase, now the first round, you're not going to do this because you set up the game. But after that, there's a couple little things you do here or there on the main board to kind of unlock. Like in the second round, you're going to unlock 2 more worker placement spaces. And then the third round, same thing. So there's a couple little things you have to do in the start phase, but it's simple, it's fast. The next is the income phase. And I will say, as you're playing this for the first couple times, do this player by player. That way everybody kind of gets an understanding of what it is. But income is going to be done kind of by yourself. You're going to take a look at your board. There's some things that you're going to, collect income from in various places. So you've got what's known as the round support tiles, which is a very fun little action selection space where you can say, I want these 2 tiles, and it's usually some kind of income. You're going to gain income from your player board. You're going to gain income from some of the tracks that you're going up on, progress tracks and income tracks. You've got a la Terraforming Mars, a resource management, and your citizen deck, which is your card. So various ways that you can collect income. The cards, you're going to get 5 of them every round. So you have 6, unless you unlock some things. And then you've got your resources to go through. So that's income.
And so he said 5, but you end up with 6 every round. So we won't go into the details of why that is, but you'll have 6 cards. You get to play 5 of them play down to 1.
Yes. That? Yeah. So every round going into the next, you have to save only one card, and then you get 5 more. Yeah. So income, it's going to become pretty quick once you understand it, but it's good to it's so complex. It's good to do that player by player just to see it. Then you get into the meat of the game itself, and that's your action phase. And the action phase is not hard, but there's a lot going on. So it's going to take some time to get through them. But in short, actions are you're going to be able to do the worker placement, which all of us love.
So back up.
Yeah.
Those cards are your actions, right?
I was getting there.
Okay.
Yeah, that's okay. So you're going to get to start with worker placement. And as Brad said, the cards are going to allow you to do multiple things. So cards as actions, you're going to take your card, you're going to spend it as a resource, and that's it. You're not going to care what's on the card itself. And then that's going to allow you to go up and play on one of the worker placement spaces. And I think Brad mentioned this earlier in the review, but sometimes that first space may be taken. So instead of costing only 1 card to take a worker action spot, you might have to pay 2 instead, or 3 if you're the third one in that actual action spot. So you're spending those cards as resources to be able to go do things. Did that cover what you were going to say?
Yeah, and then once you're out of cards, or once you're down to 1 card left, your turn's done, and you wait for everybody else to finish, and then you go back to the cleanup phase and the VP, getting victory points, getting your income, and then starting the whole process over again.
Yeah, so those cards are kind of a timer for you in what you're able to do. The other thing you can do with your turn on your actions is you can actually use the card itself. They're called citizen cards, but they have actions actually printed on them, and they're all unique, and there's 300 cards maybe in the game.
A lot of cards.
A lot of cards. And so you're able to actually, instead of spending it as a resource, you're able to pay it. So you have to pay a cost. You're going to do an action that's on that card. And then you could choose to take that card and actually add it into your Tableau, or you can set it beside your board, and they become other benefits as you go throughout the game, mainly tags that allow you to kind of chain some things together or gain some extra benefits and boosts. So cards can be used in two ways, worker placement or the action on it. The last two things you can do as actions are pretty quick and easy. One is having what's called a flip ability. So as you get later into the game, you might be able to collect bonus tiles. There's 12 different tiles you can choose from. You can only have one of each type, but you collect it, you put it in front of you, and some of those will be things that you can use every round. And when you do, you spend it, you flip it upside down. You can't use it anymore that round, but then you'll be able to use it later. But it's going to give you some cool benefits. And then the last after that is passing. And passing is an important part of this game. So as Brad said, when you're out of cards, you are going to be forced to probably pass. But you may choose to pass before that if you really want to, because if you pass first, you get some extra bonuses, like choosing which of those special income benefits you might want to choose from.
And think of that as if you've ever played on Mars, you get to move your token to the next spot. You're the person that gets to do that. So passing lets you like, oh, I'm going to pick this spot to go first, and then I'm going to get these bonuses for that open space.
Yeah, which can be very beneficial because some of those round support tiles are pass abilities or pass income. So when you pass, you're going to be able to do some income type benefits
or victory points.
Yeah, victory points.
End of the game, things like that.
Yeah, and so passing is a very important part of the game. I didn't think it would be until I started playing, and after a couple of rounds, I started seeing how important it is to be able to pass when you need to pass. Obviously, you want to take your actions, but that actually is a big part of the action. So you'll pass 5 times because there's 5 rounds.
I'll try to show like right here between us. If you look at the top of this board where it says main board, all those spaces kind of on the right, those are all your worker placement spots. So there's like counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. And then there's another one that's 17 where you get some free actions. So there's like 17-ish things, or 18 when 3 players, because you can copy one of the other things. So like there's a lot you can do. You got 5 times you get to do it. Or less, depending on if you want to go and spend more, 2 cards. Mm-hmm. Your cards are just your throwaway resources unless you're going to play them and Tableau them.
Yeah. So to give you just a quick idea of some of these action spaces, things you can do, you can build out tiles on your map because you're going to have a map beside you, and those tiles are terrain tiles. You can build roads, so a la Catan, my favorite game ever. Hexagons and roads.
You like it. You just played it too many times.
And then you put buildings. I know, right? And then you put buildings on top of it. So one of those workers placement spots is building buildings. One of them is building roads. One's building tiles. You've got places where you can get extra resources, where you can collect some coins. You can. Oh gosh, there's so many things.
There's a lot.
Yeah,
There's a place you can get 4 money or 8 money, or you can delay your worker and not use a card. It's interesting. You pay a card to put a worker out that's going to give you a worker that you can play towards the end of the round for free, even though you already paid for it. Yeah. But it's an interesting thing because it kind of lets you okay, I've done the things I want. Now I want to come back and do something.
Yeah. And
it doesn't cost you 2 or 3 cards. So that's where it kind of allow you to spend 1 card to then go into a 3-card spot for 1 card, but delayed.
Or you can spend it and get 2 extra resources if you need them to build something, because wheat is incredibly difficult to get.
Yep.
Once again.
Well, but once you understand that you need it, so there's a lot of good things. There's a lot going on with this game.
I would be happy to do a teach, but it would take us about an extra 40 minutes, 45 hour in this review. Yeah. So. But that's a quick one. So 4 things you can do, 5 phases, and then, 18,000 actions that you can choose to take as you go.
So there's a lot. So pros and cons?
Yeah, let's get into it.
So my first pro, I guess, is that you have a hex tile board that you're building hexes out, and as you build them, you're going to get resources, and you're going to flip the tiles. You'll be able to get another resource, and when you build on it, you're going to be able to get that resource again. So it's not necessarily chaining, but you're able to try to maneuver things in a way that okay, I'm going to flip this and now I'm going to get that resource versus this other one, things like that. So that's kind of fun. And you have your Tableau with your income and a couple of tracks on that, but you can, and then you have the player board. This takes up a lot of space. It's not like the main board is big, because there really isn't a main board. It's just the worker placement board. You've got like 3 areas you need for your space, and everybody needs that. So it takes up a lot of room in that aspect.
Yeah.
But I liked my Tableau. I liked the things that I could do on it and how it was able to get me something. Like I was always, things got tight, but then I was able to like work my way out of the tightness and then start getting the resources I needed during the income phase.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it seems like everything in this game gives you multiple things from it. Like playing a tile might get you an immediate resource, and then if you flip it and then if you build on it, you're getting 2 boosts in income or in the progress track. So it's like it's powerful. Like it's pretty exciting. Yeah, I like that. I think one of the things that I really like, I've got a lot written, so I'm trying not to do all of them, but one of them is the fact that it is not so punishing or limiting. And especially worker placement is probably the only part of the game where you're really interacting with other people. And even that is not so limiting. Like you think of something like viticulture. Viticulture is a great worker placement game, but it's going to get tight in certain spaces. And this, I don't ever feel like we had a moment where somebody said, I can't do what I want to do, except for like the places that only had 1 spot in it. Like I want the extra special worker to do something later with, or I want a gem to add into my Tableau, something like that. So it feels like it's really friendly and open to people who want to sit down and play a game together, but you're very much playing solitaire without being too punishing. So.
And I'm trying to just find some pictures here so you can kind of see, like right here, this is your quote unquote city or your lands that you're building out. And then as you place them on the different colors, you're going to be able to get the different resources you get. Wheat is the tan, stone is the gray, and chopping wood is the green. And then over here on the right hand side you can see your Tableau, and then up here in the middle, the top of this picture, that's all the worker placement stuff on the left hand side of this picture, and then on the right are all the tracks that you can have that give you the multipliers for, like, you're moving up those tracks to say, like, every building I build, I'm going to get 3 victory points at the end of the game. Well, you start off with 0 victory points for every building you build unless you move up the track, right? So you have these 4 different tracks, and there's 2 portions of those. So this gets into the other part. Like, you got 4 tracks, but there's 2 for each track. So that's mean there's 8 different tracks that you can try to go up, or something like that, right? So
close.
It's a lot.
It is a lot. And actually, that's going to go into my next pro, if that's okay, real quick. I love the complex and thinky progress tracks. So he said 8. There's 6 main progress tracks that's on the player board. So if you're looking at this image,
6, not 8.
This is kind of upside down, but over on the far right hand side is going to be these tracks. And you have to go up in them, but how you go up in them and how you choose to go up in them can vary based on so many factors. So you really
don't have to go up on all of them. You're not going to be able to.
Not well, at least.
Yeah.
I mean, you can. We got up on most of them, but
I think I got up on 3 or 4 of them.
Yeah, you got to kind of pick your battles and what you're going to do with it, and so it becomes this very big, like, where am I going? What am I doing? How can I be efficient? And then once you kind of have an idea, you're all in. Like, that's the area you're going for. And so it really becomes kind of complex. But in addition to those, there's also the industry track, and the industry track has 2 different tracks in one. So that's another one that none of us really played well. And then you also have your food track, which is going to allow you to unlock your cookie bunnies to be able to put them out on the board later. So it's all these tracks, and which are you going to do, when, why, how. It's fun, and it's taxing on the brain, which I like.
Yeah.
But could be a negative for some people.
Yeah. Pro of mine is that I think this may be the first game that you can literally play it your way. and still have a chance of winning. So all three of us, when we played, we had very different strategies, and the asymmetry on the characters. There's so many characters in this that the board is sandwiched, and you can see it in the Kickstarter page, and you take your sheet and you put it in there and you sandwich the double layered Tableau board together. I went for my character's special, and it was building buildings and being able to get more victory points for buildings. And I really thought I'm going to get hammered as I was playing. Derek's started with income on all his tracks. So he was always getting forest, or he was always getting wheat, or he was always getting rock. He started at like 2. The rest of us start at 0, and then you start somewhere like 15 coins income, right? But I'm like, well, that's overpowered, and that may be where you hear some people say like, oh, there's different overpowered ones. But I ended up winning or beating Derek by 2 or 3 or something like that. It was tight. But I got to play my own game and still come back, and I thought I was going to lose the whole time, and then didn't. And then Toph played his game differently, and I would say his game worked the best, but I think we still were like, and we talked about this, he had some cards that none of the rest of us had that gave bonus points at the end of the game that we never drew, but his ability was drawing more cards.
Yeah.
So like that could be a slight balance issue with the game, not sure, but I still felt good because I was like, I didn't get destroyed, and the other, by being able to play my own game, and I really like it when I can play my own game, get powerful, and then not feel like I just got, curb stomped.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I was a little nervous because even the beginning of the game, Derek was ahead. I was not ahead. Derek was largely above the two of us. And then at one point I pulled away, and I don't remember where that was, but it was somewhere around 3 or 4.
Turn
3 or 4.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I started going, and then Brad was so far behind. And then all of a sudden, it was like Brad's engine just clicked, and he went for it. And it just, he was racing up. And so I did end up with quite a bit extra points than the two of you. And so I think I had like 210 or something like that. And the two of them had somewhere like in the 160 ones. Yeah. And so I was definitely ahead, but I also had played the game before, so I had plays under my belt before we got into that game, and so it was like I can see where I was ahead a little bit more, but I also tried a different strategy than I did anytime I had played anything with the game, trying to learn it or sitting down playing it solo two-handed. I tried something different, and it worked, well for me, but it's going to be largely condition based. So yeah, and that's great. It's tactical, but it's also
But that's
free.
To me, that was a big deal. Like but we'll keep going. You have another pro?
I love that it is a lot of mechanics, but they're straightforward. You're probably, if you're used to playing heavyweight games or medium to heavyweight games, there's nothing new in this game. Now, they do take new takes on how actions can be played out, but the mechanics itself, all of them are straightforward. So the teach is not how do you do this mechanic, because it's simple worker placement. It's simple, selection.
But
those
there's
things
16 of them.
But yes, it's very complex because there's 1,000 things that you can do.
Right.
So yeah, but the actual mechanics, you're not having to sit down and learn, okay, well, what does this rondelle do? It's not Barrage where you're trying to figure out how the nuances of these mechanics are changed for this one game. They're simple, they're straightforward. There's a lot of them, but they work. So I like that a lot.
Yeah. The other thing I liked, and I'll talk the other side of this in the con, but like you feel like you're growing your power, you become more and more powerful. Like we were on turn 4, and like I was just like, okay, well I'm gonna lose all these points because you have to connect your city to these river areas, and it's -40 if you don't get any of them. I had none, right? And I'm like, I got turn 4 and turn 5 to finish this, and like, how am I gonna even come close? I was able to. Right. And those last 2 turns were monstrous. It just, it was cool. It was like, like chugging, and it was like, whew, then I hit the downhill slide of it, and it was like, okay, now I'm seeing what this can do. But it was cool to be able to do that. Kind of like we talked about that in Cthulhu Death May Die. You know, you start out as this little weakling and you want to go insane, so you get super powerful toward the end. This is kind of that, you know, you don't realize it until you start like, oh, wow, you know. So I really like that.
Yeah, some of the engine building doesn't feel like you're just hardcore engine building. Like,
I didn't think it felt like an engine builder. I didn't.
Yeah.
I personally didn't.
Well,
you know, I was trying to force income through, which is kind of what you do in Terraforming Mars, but like I didn't feel as restricted in Terraforming Mars because you have a card, you play it, you go to the worker spot. Terraforming Mars is I got to have the right cards and these orders and all this. There's other things that work for your engine. This is simpler than that, even though it's, you know, a heavyweight game.
Yeah, and that's very true. And I think that's the beauty of it. Now, I love Terraforming Mars. I love that complexity. I love that engine building and Tableau building, but this is
income building. Maybe?
Yeah, I mean,
there's a lot of different stuff.
Well, yeah, you know, all the different things that you're unlocking and the things that you're going for, you know, they tend to help you in various ways, you know, trying to get to there's 2 spaces on the side A of the board, which is all the same side of your city building board. 2 spaces where you can unlock the income of having extra cards. There, you know, those are the things, building up your income tracks, building up your prosperity tracks, you know, those things are all, I think, is what I'm considering engine building.
Yeah.
So maybe it's not true, but the tags are the other thing. I think that's kind of going into one of my pros and also a con. But the cards you play, when you play them in front of you, not as resources, but playing the cards, they have tags on them, and those tags can come in handy in some very cool ways. Especially when you can use
them for your victory point cards at the end.
Yeah, when you can.
And I would say that's probably the part you'll have to play this multiple times, at least a couple, because I think that's probably why Toph was able to parlay his second round better and get over 200 points is for these tags. And the tags, we just mean like there's an icon of different pastries and sweet things, hence the name of the game, that thing can give you points or do some other things, but playing it your first time, you're not going to be able to really, that's probably the thing you're going to look at least in the whole thing. If you look on here on the screen, you've got your own tracks that you can do where you're unlocking these buildings, and as you unlock those buildings, you know, like if you're going up on the blue, you know, you can get 2 diamonds. Diamonds let you tuck cards and do some other things. So you're kind of trying to pick which buildings am I going to try to track up on, and then at the top I'm going to get victory points for that kind of thing, and which one of those 3 columns really work with the synergy that you're trying to do with your character, right? Because you're not going to unlock all of them. Well, maybe, I don't know, we did not, but I did one. I think I did the center row because that was with buildings and that was what I was trying to go for, and Derek did the orange one, which was the bunnies, you know, the cookie bunnies or whatever they are, because he had a lot of those unlocked, you know, so it's kind of those things. One
of the things with the asymmetry, not async, like I said earlier,
right.
Hello Online School, is down there at the far right, or the bottom right corner, you'll see there's a lot of icons, but one of the things in there will tell you what to do to unlock your ice cream cone clock tower.
Yes, and we said that correctly.
Yes.
Ice cream cone clock tower.
Yeah. And so to be able to put that out, which unlocks, this is another one of those engine things, unlocks a special ability, which my special ability was to be able to go find these pass score cards, which gave me a lot of points, especially because I was able to synergize them with some of the tags that I had. So, you know, and Brad's was to be able to build buildings and cities better and faster and get points that way.
Typically you have to build a city, you have 3 different buildings. They have to be different. Mine, I could ignore that. I could have 3 the same or 2 the same or something like that. So it allowed me to have groupings, pods of 3. And then I was able to get victory points, double victory points every time I had a city.
Once I unlocked
it. Yeah. So
that's really cool. And that's another one of the things I love about the game was that asymmetric.
And when we talk about cities, if you look at this picture, it's these 3 buildings. You see a big milk carton. You see this fluffy cloud thing, and then
that's
this
the cream puff house,
and then the brownie building in the back, the black and brown one.
The milk
so
research station.
That's a grouping of 3, and that's a city. And then you want to skip a tile to create your next grouping of 3, because if you get victory points for each grouping of 3, so if they're touching, now it's not separate, you know. So, Yeah.
It's pretty
Anyway, so we probably need to talk about cons. There's a lot of cool stuff
Yeah.
going cons. So my guess is, if you're like me, because the other people got their videos out before us, and so they were like, "Oh, this is great," and blah 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 blah. And so, you're gonna start playing this game, and it's gonna be slow, and you might be thinking like, "Why did you say this had the rating it had?" Right? This is garbage. And then toward the end, you're gonna be like, "Oh my god, now I get it." Right? So this is turn 4, turn 5. You're gonna feel like I think you could be like me and turn out to be like, holy crap, now I get it, but like you could have a slow build. I think you could have a fast one depending on which character you have, or you could have something in the middle. Mine was on the slow side. I would say Toph's was in the middle where he started really moving, and Derek's, because he started with a bit of a bump, started quicker. Now he ended slower. Like, it was real interesting to see how all three of us were going through the game and where we kind of all ended up the same, minus the cards Toph had that like boosted him up above. But it's not Terraforming Mars first edition where you didn't have what's that add-on that kind of boosted things?
Oh, Prelude.
Yeah. It's not that slow.
Yeah.
It's still only 5 turns.
Yeah.
But like turn 1, turn 2, you may be just like, okay, I played a card. Like, I was fast with mine. I was going, I'm like, you guys are taking like 5 minutes to make your decisions. I'm like, I know what I need. I need wheat. Play a card, put my worker there, get some wheat. That was it, So, but then at the end, I was like, oh, I'm able to do this, and then I'll do that, and I'm over here, and then this is going to get me that, and blah, blah, blah. So, not chaining, but it was just interesting how it worked.
I will say one of my favorite things of the experience of playing with the three of us together was the moment, and I know you well enough now. I've been friends for a while. I could tell that Brad was not really loving the game. Like it was okay, but he was just almost, it felt like you were going through the motions. Like it was like, okay, let's just play it, whatever. And then all of a sudden I could see that spark. And then at that point, he was like sitting at the table like this and was really trying to get into maximizing all these things. And it just like that spark hit. And then from that point on, Brad was like energized, even though Brad's really old and it was getting late into the night. It was like he had a second wind and he was able to get going again and just kind of go and have fun with it. So that was
I think it's like my character with the buildings and everything went slow, and then the other thing, just for you have to get wheat. So you can't. So like out of all the 3 resources, stone might be the least, but wheat is the most important to try to build out your city. And so that's where I kind of I got stuck. I didn't have wheat. I was going for the other things, and I had to come back on turn 2 and 3 I just was trying to get my wheat income up so then I could start putting more tokens out. So that's a little tip.
Yes. One of the things
doesn't have to be your full strategy, but it needs to be in your strategy.
Yeah.
I don't care regardless of what you're playing.
I will say one tip of advice for those of you who are playing with gaming groups or with others. If you're a solo player, obviously this doesn't matter, but Brad and I really have gotten to the point where when we introduce a game, we are telling people what to do. Like, you need
or what to avoid. Like,
yes,
this is a pitfall.
Like, consider this strategy, do this, try this, because it just gets everybody on the same playing field, and I think everybody has more fun that way. To add on to what Brad just said, so one of the cons that I have is the ports. So there's 4 ports that are on the city map, and if you don't connect them all to your main, so at the bottom of your city, you've got a capital, and you have to get roads out and stuff to, start doing things, building buildings, all that. But you build out your terrain tiles. As you build out your terrain tiles and stuff out towards these ports, you can connect to them. If you connect to all of them, you're going to get like 10 victory points at the end of the game. If you connect only 3 of them, you're going to lose like 5 or 10. If you only connect 2 of them, you're going to lose like 20. If you connect none of them, you're losing 40 points. Why are you losing 40 points if you don't connect it? And I think where my con comes in is not so much the points that you gain or lose. My con is that forces you to build out. Now, I know the theme of the game is to build out your cities, but it forces you to build out these tiles and therefore really to build the roads And in order to build roads and in order to build these city tiles, you have to have wheat, which means you need a lot of wheat, which means you also can't do some other things. But that also means you have to focus on this, which means you're not focusing on other things that you may want or need to do as well. And so I see that kind of as a con, and maybe it's just a mental thing. If it's I'm losing 40 points, I have to go for all of them to get them to not lose 40 points.
Yeah, and you do. Like, that's where I was, but I was able to, like, navigate that in turn 4 and 5 when I thought I'm just going to lose 40 points. How do I do this? And when we looked at a couple things in a spot, I was like, oh, if I do this, then that actually lets me put another tile out for free and then another tile. And if my next turn I can go here and here. Like, it's doable. You have to, like, but you have to keep it in, try to keep it in mind as you're doing things. I've got this picture up here. It's hard to see, but on this board, as you're building out your cities, basically in the 4 corners kind of this board, that's where you have to get to the shipping lanes, right? And that's what we're talking about. So if you don't get any of those connected with hexes, you lose 40 points. If you get one of them connected, you lose 30 points. If you get 2 of them connected, then you're going to lose 20, and then 5, or, you know, if you get 3 of them, you're going to lose 5. If you get all of them, you gain 5. Like,
yeah, whatever.
So it's not a plus side. It's all on the negative. So you know.
Yeah. Which, again, going back to the theme, I can understand, you know, what you're trying to do. So it makes sense.
I kind of dug it. I wouldn't have dug it if I hadn't been able to pull it off. But the fact that I was able to pull it off, that's kind of what made the game fun towards the end. It was like something I didn't think I was going to be able to do, and it was like, oh, I was able to find the ways and all the pieces to make it work.
I think that game that we played, the last time we played was with Derek and the 3 of us. That was the first time in my plays that I actually was able to get all of them. Even when I was playing double-handed, you know, I couldn't get them all the way to get all 4 of them. So, yeah. So for me, that was kind of a con because it mentally forced me to do that and not look at some other things. So,
And I honestly, he's right. That's my biggest con is like and I don't know if it was the character or the fact that I didn't realize I needed wheat, but my first turn felt great. My second and third turn didn't. And then, but my 4th and 5th turn felt amazing. So,
and mine came like at turn 3 and 4. Right. It's really when I started shining. So, yeah. Do you have another con?
I don't think I have any other,
So these are nitpicky things. These are not, I wouldn't say truly cons, but more so nitpicky things. But it almost felt like maybe there was a little too much.
Yeah, there's a lot. I mean, there's, you know, you got to realize, you know, that this is a 3-hour game. Let's just, you know, 2.5 to 3, whatever it is. Some people are saying it's 4, depending on, but I don't think it's going to end up being that long because, you know, I thought we were going to have to shut down early, but we got through the whole thing.
Yeah, we debated only playing 4 of the 5 just to not have it go so late on a Wednesday night.
But we were able to get through 5.
Yeah.
And
so this is, like I said, this is a nitpicky thing, and this is why, and I know we talk about Who's Us For later. If you're looking for a game that you're going to play a lot, it's fantastic to have all these options. But if this is a game where you're going to play once a year, maybe it's a little almost too much, you know, for that. So nitpicky. Same with the tags. I mentioned this as a pro and a con, but to me, they kind of felt underutilized in a lot of areas. And then I was able to make use of them very well, but nobody else did. Yeah.
And that's what I think. I think like if, and I was saying that before, when you got a bunch of points, I think if you understand, maybe there's a reason that there's those tags are there and then they can give you points toward the end, but like 10 cards out of 300 or however many are there, maybe they don't need to be in the game. I don't know. Like then if it's too much of a luck of the draw kind of thing, I don't know. I don't know the statistics and how they've balanced that out. But.
Or it's a matter of, again, that's just one of the options. And I didn't do well building. I built roads pretty well, but buildings, I didn't do a great job at building buildings. So maybe it was, I just, by that point playing I was able to figure it out. Yeah. And so, so that was it. The city points vary greatly. This goes in the same thing, and that's asymmetry with the player powers, but felt like city points during the game didn't do a whole lot, but then all of a sudden city points for him.
They did. They did for me because I got 2x city points as the game went.
And maybe as we talk about this, it's like this is nitpicky. It's not a con. It's just asymmetry because I was able to boost a lot of points with these cards. He didn't have any of them. He was able to boost a whole lot of points with his cities. I didn't really do a whole lot of it. So, you know, nitpicky. These are not true. Oh, I'm never going to play this because of it. The other thing is just big table presence. There are 2-player boards per player.
Big table energy.
Yeah. There are up to 4 main boards if you play 4 people. So that's, play 4 people, 8 plus, that's 12 boards on the table. So be ready for that. If you have only a small little table, that could be a huge con. Thankfully, we have a large table here at Brad's house. When I was playing at home, I don't have a large table to play on, so I was playing on the floor.
Are you really?
Yeah. So I was just like, okay, here we go.
Yeah, I have animals. So, that ain't happening.
No, I do not. So anyways, so let's go into the next one, setup.
Setup.
So I will say, again, big table board, good transition. It's going to take you some time to set this game up. So be prepared, and this might be an opportunity where you set it up before your game group begins.
Yeah, and there are a lot of pieces on your Tableau. Like there's a lot of wooden pieces that you have to put on your Tableau, each Tableau. So every person playing has got to get all these little pieces. So.
Thankfully, they made double layer boards, and I mean, the components are gorgeous. Like it's great quality, but there's a lot to set up. So keep that in mind. I think we were just discussing this. I think the 2 of us set the game up, and it was about 30 minutes. So, be prepared for that. It's worth it, but it does take some time. Do you have anything you want to say? Anything else about setup?
No.
Okay. So weight, is that next?
Yep.
Okay. So as of right now, there were 17. You put yours in, right?
Yep.
17 people that rated the weight of the game.
Us.
Yeah, 2 of us. Yeah. So weighted the game on BGG. So if you go into BGG right now, which is not going to be the same when this video posts or when you watch it, it is a 4.16 or 4.17, I think, something like that. When I first looked at it at the beginning, it said it was a 4.6 something. High weight, 4.6. So where is it now, and what do I think it is? So currently, like I said, it's 4.17 out of 5. I actually think it's a little bit higher than that. So I think it's falling somewhere between 4.25 and maybe a little bit higher than that. And I'll say why I think that. The mechanics are not hard. The game itself is not overly complex, and how do I do this? It's complex because there's so many things going on that you have to manage in your mind all at one time. So it's a brain burner in that regard. That's why I think the complexity is a little bit higher than just a 4.16. So 4.17. I think it's about a 4.25. It's nothing like on Mars or Lisboa, but it's also not your Castles of Burgundy. It's not your
it's not in the
upper threes. No.
So
that's where I put it.
Yeah, and there's a lot going on. I think it ended up, for me, I would say it would be around a 4. I think this between a 4 and 4.25.
Yeah.
Once you understood, like, worker placement, okay, what do all those things do? Okay, I understand what do all those things do, and then how do I build my cities out? Oh, and then I got to put the bridges out, and the bridges do what? Like, I didn't find it.
It's not hard.
It's not hard, but neither is Barrage. I didn't think Barrage was hard to learn.
Oh, I don't
Barrage
know.
was hard to play, right? Barrage was hard to play because it's like chess. Chess is like, okay, well, you move these things around, but it's hard to be good at it. Like this one, I don't even know if it was, I didn't feel like it was hard to be. I didn't feel like it was hard to be good at it. This isn't Food Chain Magnet. This isn't something like that. But there's just a lot of options. But I did like the fact that I could go down this path, and it felt good.
And it worked for you.
Yeah,
I mean, for the most part. Yeah.
But I don't know.
So
it's heavy, but I don't think it's a 5.
Yeah, it's not a 5.
Yeah,
it's not a 4.5.
Yeah,
no. So, what about value?
So on Kickstarter, we'll pull up the Kickstarter page. Let's see if we can find it. I think they're saying it's 88, 66.
I think 88 was the base game, which I think is what we had with.
Yeah, so we had the
components.
Base game, and their components are great, right? Your base game, you're still going to get these printed items. You're just not getting all the printed, like the character printed stuff. So look at that based on if you want some printed or all printed, but you're still getting some printed. Yep. So here's our standard pledge, $88. Now, it's a big, heavy game. If you've played any of the Eagle, Griffin, Lacerda games, it's big and heavy like that. It's a brick. And it's not going to fit and the calyx standing up. So you're going to have to lay it down.
It is the same box as a deluxe
Big
Eagle Griffin.
boy.
Yeah.
Big croissant, big whatever.
Tiramisu.
Yeah, there you go. But $88, and you're going to end up, always assume somewhere around $20 for shipping at least. So you're $108 for this. I would say at that, like, this is good quality, lots of cards, lots of screen printing, things like that. I'll give this a 4 out of 5 for the 88, 108. You're getting a Euro, some heavy Euros, well quality Euros, cost around that $100 mark. And I would say the experience I had with this was a 4, for the money that I didn't have to pay. So keep that in mind. Now the next one up, do you need like all the screen printed characters and stuff? I don't know if that's going to get you that much. That's, you have to decide that for yourself. So it's probably dropping that down a whole point, down to a 3. You're not getting any more play value really with that. I don't think that couple extra cards that they may give you in the deluxe package is going to be that much more, right? But it's still a good game. So you really just have to decide, like, $122 plus another $25 now for shipping. You're at a $150 game. You really have to start thinking, like, is that for you? And if you just love the bling, go for it. You're gonna like it.
Yeah. I mean, you think of Lacerda's Eagle Griffins, Lacerda's big box games are
all
125
Lacerdas are around
now.
150 now.
Yeah.
Right.
150,
Like you want to buy one of his games new from them, they're $150. So that for the quality and what you're getting, it's not as hard as a Lacerda, but it's in that same price range. And I would say it's worth it.
I'd put this in the same category. Not quite as difficult, but I'd put it in the same category.
Yeah. So BGG ratings.
Yes. You want me to go first, or do you want to?
Well, you learned the rules, so I'll go first. So
okay.
You can do Toph has the exciting reveal. He's right. At the beginning, I would have said this is at most a 7, right? But by the end, I landed at an 8. I don't think this is a 9 or a 10. This isn't on Mars. This isn't on some of the like super high games. But like, listen, this was an 8. This definitely ended on a high note for me. I enjoyed it. The more I was able to do, it was just like I said, you got more powerful and you're able to do more things. And I was able to, like, actually, not lose 40 points at the end. Things like that is like, how is that going to happen? Oh, I was actually able to pull that off, and the game gave me enough that I was able to pull that off at the end, which was cool.
Yeah.
So an 8 for me.
Yeah, I agree with Brad with his comments. I went into this listening to some other reviewers who have, previewed the game, and they were talking about, like, I tried not to listen to their review, like what they thought of the game, but getting an idea of what is the game. And so many were starting with, this is the game of the year. This is, top of the list, this is one of our favorite games. And I started the game, learning the rules and then trying to play it and then trying to solo it and trying to get that solo in a couple times. Like, is this really doing that? Yes. Now, is this the game of the year? I don't know about that. But I am legitimately sad that we had to pass this game on. Like, thank you for sending us a review copy to be able to take a look at and to, give our thoughts and be able to play it and enjoy it.
Sorry it took us so long to get it done.
Yeah, it did. But I mean, I legitimately am, in my mind, placing this in the same category of games of some of our favorite designers and publishers, Eagle Griffin with Lacerda's games. Now, do I weigh it higher than that? Probably not. I haven't played all of them yet. But I initially thought, where is this? And then after we played our last game, it was like, okay, really, where is this? I don't think it's a 9 necessarily, at least yet. If I played it more, maybe. But I'm at like an 8 to an 8.5. And I think I put 8.5 on BGG as my rating for it. I really do. The more I played it, the more that I sat down and thought through it, mulled through the actions and stuff, I started falling in love with the game. It's a really good game.
Yep. The theme I really didn't think about the theme at all when I was playing it. I enjoyed feeling smart and getting things out and done. So you know,
the theme does nothing.
The theme wasn't a big driver in that. So which is impressive to have a game that you actually like playing, that you could be like, I don't care if it had just rocks on it. Like, not trying to take that away. Like all the components are beautiful. Everything is gorgeous. Well done. I like everything they've done with it. But if I'm baking cakes and I'm, floofy Candyland, whatever kind of stuff, that is not me. I don't look floofy.
No, not at all.
He's not floofy. Fluffy, but not floofy.
Thanks, friend. Less fluffy. I am not so gluten-filled now.
Sorry.
But
that was a little bit below the belt.
The good thing is, for those of us that, I thought the theme would distract. I looked at the box. It was like, I don't know. I looked at the components as I'm punching things. I don't know. Cards. I don't know. And then all of a sudden, the play, for me, that doesn't understand that art style and that theme, it was not distracting at all from the gameplay. So I'm not saying you can just paste any theme on it, but it was a heavyweight Euro. I didn't think about the food. So
yep.
Awesome.
All right. So who's this for? Who's this not for? I'm trying to think. Is it we're back into, we play heavyweight games. We've been reviewing a lot of heavyweight games. If you're not into heavyweight games, don't let the theme fool you. It's heavy. So don't go there. If you're just not into it, don't like long teaches, don't have people that can have attention spans through the teach, you're not going to enjoy yourself.
Yeah.
This is a gamer's game.
This is very much that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think adding on to that, just with my personal experience where I am right now in my life, with being in grad school, doctoral program, I don't have much time to play a lot of games or even solo a lot of games, but I love soloing games. I don't have the time to sit down and play this chunky of a game solo. So if you're in that position where you don't have a whole lot of time, even if you want to solo it, it's a great game, I think, to solo. Mm-hmm. I do actually think it's a great game to solo. But it's going to be for that person that is ready to sit down and have a very, 2.5, 3 hour thinky solo game.
Mm-hmm. No different than going to a movie, but you just have to realize, this isn't a 30-minute one and done.
Yeah.
So what do you think? Comment down below. Are we full of it? This is long. We're about an hour into this sucker. I don't know where it's going to edit out. Probably 49 minutes. Who knows? Super long, this one. But if you're going to spend this much money, you should be able to get all the information you need. So skip around, and hopefully you enjoyed it.
Yeah. So. Let us know your thoughts in the bottom, and let us know what your favorite pastry is.
There you go. Just remember, no matter how you play, whether it's solo, with family, or not your friend. Oh, sorry.
Or your friends. Enjoy whatever game you are bringing to the table.
Have a great night.